Welcome to the Digital Marketing Insights podcast, brought to you by Brightside Digital.
Hi everyone, welcome to the show. I'm delighted to say today we have Ciara with us, who's a brand manager. Ciara, how are you doing?
Hi Tom, I'm good. Thank you so much for having me. It's my first time as a podcast guest, so I'm very excited.
You're very welcome.
Yeah.
Ciara, we always start off the same. Could you tell our audience a little bit about yourself, please?
I can. I sure can. This is where I said now, Tom, I'll have to watch my time because once I start, there's no stopping me. So, like you introduced me there, my name is Ciara. I'm a brand manager. I'm working for a wholesaler called the Barry Group here in Cork in Ireland. So like I said, yeah, we're a wholesale distribution company and I specialise particularly in alcohol marketing. So a little bit of background, I suppose. We are here for a Digital Insights podcast. So a little bit of background of kind of where I come from in the marketing industry is I studied economics in college and I specialised in marketing for my FYP and then I loved it. So I went back by night. I did digital marketing here in MTU in Cork and then I went off, got myself an internship while I was studying and sure, the rest is history. I spent some time here working in a marketing agency in Cork, specifying in digital. So I was a digital account executive there with them. And then I spent some time in Australia. So I was working as a marketing specialist there too. And I was specifying there in kind of kids retail. So I got to do a lot of cool work with kind of Disney and Nickelodeon. So that was amazing. And as you know, Australia is light years ahead of us. So I got to learn a lot on the job there. Then COVID was not on my side, so came back to Cork and I freelanced for a little while here, digital consulting, and then I found my job at the Barry Group and I'm there 2 years now.
Brilliant. And Ciara, looking at your experience, it's very diverse, but is there any particular strength that you would say is your main area in digital?
Yeah, so when I thought about this question, I think by default, my answer was always going to be paid social. And I think the reason I defaulted to that answer is because when I started in the industry, I was on a digital account team and my mentor that I had at the time, she allocated me to the paid social for the team. We all kind of had our own division. So I want to say by default, that would definitely be my strength because it's just where I've the most experience. I've been working in paid social since day one. But what I love, like calling it a strength, like what I loved is I've obviously developed, and I mean that side of the industry is rapidly developing. I mean, you nearly have to be upskilling yourself every week with paid social. But as I moved into the Barry Group, I think it's fair to say there was a lot more of a traditional approach in there. So what I love about my current role is there was so much scope to actually introduce many elements of digital to the role that I'm in now. So kind of for the last 2 years, I've obviously been keeping my paid social as my baby, but I've really been upskilling and introducing new elements of digital to the team. And that's been phenomenal. It's been a massive learning curve for me. Then I've been able to share those learnings with the wider team. So I think strength wise, I'm definitely going to say paid social, but I'm just enjoying so much working across all elements of it now. And it's like a fresh slate, introducing it to a new team, you know?
Yeah. And can you give me an example of some of the new stuff that you have picked up?
So like a lot of like the company, we actually did a lot of email marketing before, so we've really advanced that now because we're a franchised company. So we deal with but in the whole franchise, like as I said, I'm particularly in alcohol marketing myself for the carry out off license brand, but we have like hundreds of outlets nationwide across the Barry Group as a wholesaler. So it's a franchise model, so each store is kind of their own independent. They have their own social teams, they have their own store managers. So email marketing was a massive one for us in terms of communication, both with the retailer and then subsequently with the customer as well, because we're in the process now of developing e-commerce, which COVID actually catapulted for us, thankfully. So we were never online before, and when everything happened over the last 2 years, we came back and we were like, right, it's now or never. So that's when we began to develop the e-commerce side of things. So we're working with a developer at the moment now and hoping, touch wood, I'm touching everything wood I can see in the car now, but hopefully we're going to be online with our test site now for June. So that has been an an epic journey for me in terms of e-commerce. I would have worked with an e-commerce team in the agency I worked in and in Oz, but this was like a brand new project for our team, and we kind of worked on it from scratch. And then being able to watch it, I suppose, develop, and now hopefully in June be fully integrated and implemented is just been a roller coaster. So e-commerce definitely, and then email marketing is a huge part of it as well. And then we do outsource a lot of digital to an agency at the moment. And some of the stuff now I'm working on is like trying to take some of that in-house. So, some kind of self-serve platforms for the likes of programmatic. We're working on some of those now at the moment. So it's an ongoing journey.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
And just out of interest, what platform is the new website being built on for e-commerce?
It's a WooCommerce site. So it's going to be it's basic, but we're getting there. And to be fair, the company that we're working with, they're an agency in Dublin, and they've really broken it out into phases for us. So as you can imagine, when you have over 100 outlets nationwide, it's not going to be a one size fits all model, especially with e-commerce, because you're talking about selling online. You've different price files, different product catalogs for each store. That's kind of the challenge when you're dealing with a franchise model, because they each have their own kind of say. It's not like we don't decide at a national level what works for each individual store. So I suppose the challenge with it has been, I suppose, just trying to integrate everything for everyone and be kind of be something for everyone. So like I said, you're working with different product files, different price files, different product catalogs, and then in turn that's really changing how I'm kind of devising the marketing strategy for it, because if I want to do any conversion campaign, I could end up having hundreds of different catalogs. So it's a challenge, and it's overwhelming, but it's exciting. It's exciting.
Ciara, can you give me an
Yeah.
example of one of the campaigns that you might have done in your previous roles, or this role that you're really proud of, and some insights there?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I specialized in paid social in the agency, because it was agency, we had like a full suite of clients. So I worked on anything from auto to retail. We had a lot of tech companies on board. We had a lot of sports companies. So a lot of local and national teams here. So like I said, I specialized in paid social for them. So that was kind of the great part of it. Like in terms of campaign, I really learned there with my mentor, like how to fully kind of integrate across all platforms. Like consistency is probably my favorite word. And if there's any colleagues in my current role now, when they listen to this, like consistency, consistency, consistency. So when I was developing campaigns in the agency, it was very much pigeonholed to paid social. Whereas what I like, and like I said, across all those various industries. But as I've moved into kind of in-house marketing, and I'm specifically focusing on alcohol, the kind of collaborations and campaigns that I run. So I deal directly with the alcohol suppliers. So you could have anyone from the likes of your Heinekens to your Diageos to your Bulmers. And what I do in terms of digital, and I suppose traditional is obviously integrated as well, but in terms of digital, what I do is I liaise with the supplier, and then we do everything from concept development of the campaign to asset content creation development for every platform. So obviously you've your all your different dimensions for social, for online, for programmatic, for a website, and then we build it out from there. So like that's kind of how we work in a nutshell. And then obviously part of my job then will be integrating that at store level. So ensuring that the campaigns for the suppliers are not only measurable online, but that we're also tracking sales uplift at store level. And I think reporting is a big one for me as well, being able to give a report back to the supplier. I kind of treat them like clients. I think coming from an agency background, when you're so used to dealing with clients, and then going in-house when you're used to dealing internally, I kind of found it hard to adjust. So I think how I made it more adjustable for myself was I turned our suppliers into my clients and then I started pitching kind of campaigns to them, and that's how the kind of alcohol marketing side of it was born. So
And do you
yeah.
find there's red tape or any limitations for promoting alcohol on?
Big time. So I'm actually very lucky. So I don't know if you'd be aware of copy clear. I'd imagine you would. So copy clear is the legislation here that everything has to go through for any alcohol marketing in this country. But because we are an independent off license group, so everything that I do, like for example, now we did a collaboration last year with Jägermeister. So they'd have a really, really strict brand guidelines. So they'd have really strict global team. They're very, very above board with their brand books and everything. And like that, what gets passed through copy clear, they're very, very strict with that. So the kind of the benefit, I suppose, to suppliers working with us is that because we're an independent off license, we are advertising as an off license as opposed to as a brand. So we do submit everything to CopyClear, I think, just for, just for compliance really, and just for the ease of mind of all the suppliers. But the kind of response we normally get is, thank you for your submission. Because you're an independent retail outlet, you're free to advertise as you wish. And that's kind of how I don't want to call it a loophole, but I definitely get to be a bit more tongue in cheek and kind of bend the alcohol legislation a tiny bit because it's an independent off license, if that makes sense. So obviously I follow all the brand guidelines from the supplier and we work really closely with them in creating the assets. But in terms of what we actually get to roll out, we definitely have a bit more leeway because we're an independent group.
That's marketing. Yeah, and I
Yeah.
could see it working really well.
Yeah,
Do you
thank you.
use any particular softwares to enhance your role and do some of this work?
Yeah, so again, when I read that question, I was like, right, there's endless softwares out there. There's different tools for content creation that we use. Now we're lucky; we obviously work directly with designers in house at the moment, so I wouldn't have to do too much content creation myself. So the ones I've kind of the platforms and the softwares that we've kind of plugged into our department in the last couple of months that I have found extremely beneficial was that self-serve programmatic platform. So they're called stackadapt. They're a Canadian software, and they give you access to their software. It's all self-serve, and that's something. If my account manager now from there is listening, Kat, she'll be like, "Oh my god, email me back." I'm like, it's literally, we're in the process of rolling out the training with the team, but that's one that I'm identifying is going to be a massive one for us. Because programmatic is something that I've been monitoring and kind of testing myself over the last couple of years, and it is expensive, but I'm seeing a huge benefit in it. And this kind of self-serve software allows me to kind of analyze all the analytics behind what I'm doing. And like, I've gone very pro analytics. That's why I love the debate inside. Like, I'm a digital advocate, and I love kind of comparing traditional media to the digital side of things. And it's all those kind of softwares that are giving me like real tangible metrics and like is measuring everything is what I will like. I will nearly sign up for everything when it's giving me reports and it's giving me insights and data. Like, I'm a sucker for it. But it's always an interesting one for me with those softwares as well, because the way I like to sell it is, obviously I work in alcohol marketing. Everybody over the age of 18 is my target market. Like, I don't have, like, we'd have various like really, really broad target markets. So once you're over the age of 18, I'm looking at you. I'm targeting you. I want to talk to you. And how I've been able to, report on that over the years, working with this particular company now, has been vast. So like, we obviously have estimated listenerships and estimated viewerships for all the traditional media that we do, and it's very important that we do that because, as I said, my market is very much there as well. But when it comes to digital and when it comes to like those platforms now, like stackadapt or self-serve programmatic, or obviously your ads manager, your Google Analytics, like when it comes to all of it, like, I'm literally able to report back to the supplier of like exact spend. This is the exact cent that was spent. This is exactly who consumed your data. This is exactly who consumed the content. And it's just so measurable. So any software that's giving me that, really. And I'm going to say the stackadapt here because that's the one that I'm absolutely loving at the moment for programmatic. And then a second one that's been a huge benefit to us, it's helping us with organic content. So we obviously run national paid social campaigns for our group as a whole. But as I kind of mentioned earlier, they're all independent chains. So they'd very much have control over their own, social channels and what they do and how they market. So this new plugin that we used, it's a new software. It's called Socialoloco. I don't know if you'd have heard of it. But they're basically a plugin that we're using to kind of directly monitor the social channels of all of our retailers. So it allows us access to publish directly to them, which we'd do on occasion. Like, if there's a particular offer running across the group, or if there's a particular price promotion that I want to highlight, we'll channel it through this software so that I'm talking directly to the local audience of the retailer, if that makes sense. So it's kind of a way of like bypassing the kind of broad audiences and trying to, absolutely nail the targeting and nail the retargeting. So this software actually allows me to post directly to each local community and kind of utilize their organic their organic following themselves. And then also, like I said, anything with statistics and insights, I'm absolutely here for. So it gives a really good report then as well, like upon any like kind of campaign end, or any content once it's finished its life cycle. It gives a very good report on, the engagements, the statistics at an organic level, and then it gives kind of recommendations for, how to better target the organic content, or maybe how to optimize it. So I'm loving that one at the moment too.
Love it. Yeah, that sounds brilliant. I'm
Yeah.
just checking out Socialoloco.
Yeah, they've been a pleasure to work with. Yeah,
Yeah, it's perfectly designed for your type of industry and business as well. So
exactly.
yeah,
Yeah,
really.
exactly. We were on the hunt for it because, as I said, like we spent the last year running campaigns at a national level, and it was great. Like, we had all our audience segmented. We were breaking it down as much as we possibly could, on Ads Manager, and building out as many custom audiences as we could for each kind of individual town and area where we had a store. But again, like, being able to directly target their own organic following of people who have obviously the most intent to purchase, because they're directly engaging with the retailer's own social channel. So being able to get straight to the source and talk to them has been phenomenal.
Love it.
Yeah.
And Ciara, lastly, we always ask the same
Yeah.
question on the show, which is
Yeah.
to try and understand the person behind the role a little bit more.
Yeah.
And I ask, if you could bottle up one personality trait that you have, Ciara, that you could
Yeah.
pass on to others, what would it be?
I actually put this question to one of my colleagues this week, because I was like, God, I wonder, like, I'm going on a podcast. How do you say, this trait that you'd bottle and sell on? But I think one that I definitely possess that I found very beneficial for me is kind of, I'm going to call it drive. So like, I'm kind of motivated by, watching things come to fruition, and then being able to kind of see the success. And I think, having a kind of a drive and a motivation, if you could bottle it and give it to kind of a younger generation, so that they almost know that, like, there should be no point, especially in marketing, where you're kind of idle. There's always something that can be done. There's always a new platform. There's always a new trend. There's always a new, there's always something new you can be learning. And that was a massive thing. I actually attended the Meta Marketing Summit this week on Wednesday. And like, even off that, going to things like that, having the motivation to better yourself. And I mean, your days go quicker. You enjoy your work, So I think motivation and drive would definitely be something that, if you can find what motivates you, and if you can find, even like that, drill down into your industry and find the area that motivates you. Like, for a lot of the people on your podcast is obviously digital, and it's big digital for me. Continue to upskill,
Yeah.
learn, like, attend every seminar that you could possibly attend. There's so many free tools. Like, Google offer endless amounts of free courses, like the Google Digital Garage, like Facebook Blueprint courses. Like, there's endless opportunities out there to continue to upskill. And I think that would be a thing that, if you can learn very early on that there's always something that you could be doing, then I think you're golden, because you'll really keep up. And I think once you see as well, once you get motivated and once you get into it, once you're passionate about it, like, passion would be another big one. So passion and motivation, if you can nail them, you'll never work a day in your life, because you'll always enjoy what you're doing.
Yeah. I can feel the drive and passion coming out of you over the audio, Ciara.
Everybody says that to me. Honestly, a half an hour is not long enough for a podcast for me.
But that's it. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Not at all.
I've loved every minute, and I'm sure our audience will love listening to you and what you have to say. So thank you,
And
Ciara.
thanks so much for having me, Tom. I can't wait to hear it.